Hello, 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 and welcome to this first live stream in what feels like a while. Let me just turn down my headphones a little here so I can stop hearing myself coming back to myself. Nice to see you all here. I was showing some hellos there in the pre-show as we came in, but there's plenty more coming in. But hello to all the people I already showed on the screen there from all over the world, some of the usual faces and some new ones as well, which is nice to see. More people coming in here. Gabby from Toronto in Canada, and hello from Ghana as well, and Bob in Vegas, Florida. Plenty of people from the US, definitely. Hello from officers here. Hello and welcome and welcome. So, like I said, this feels like the first live stream in a little while. I've changed pretty much everything around today for no good reason. Well, I have some good reasons, but for no real good reason other than just a little bit of experimentation, and we'll see how it goes. If anything falls apart, you'll know why, because I decided to just pull things apart and do things completely differently today. But if you can hear and see me just fine, then let me know. Otherwise, I can make some tweaks on my end and we will go from there. Let me see now. So I think it's totally worth and I see a lot of people coming over from after hours. Excellent. Welcome, welcome. But I just wanted to go through all the stuff that I wanted to chat about in this live show today. So, and let me just move that out of the way. So we got some new products here. Over the last, I've been doing a bunch of episodes of Return Feed with Ryan Summerfield. You maybe watched them on the channel here. And that's what we've been doing for the last 6 weeks. And then last week I didn't make the live stream, but I'm here today to go again. So in that time, I've managed to gather up a bunch of different bits and pieces of equipment. In fact, if I just show you the table here, you can see a few of them in front of you there. The new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, HyperDeck Video X. I've got this bidirectional 3G converters from Blackmagic. They're not so new, but they're new to me. And then I have the you can't quite see it there, but the YoloBox Pro is just lying on the table. So we'll probably explore some of those today as we go through the show, and we'll see how it goes. So that's the first thing, new products, YoloBox and HyperDecks and all sorts of fun stuff. What else? H2R Graphics version 2 update. We can go through some interesting stuff. I'm making really good progress. The alpha testers are working really hard on their side to fix any, well, they're not fixing the bugs, they're reporting the bugs and I'm fixing them, and they're finding plenty, and that's good. We can get those squashed before it goes into beta. I was hoping to do that already by now, but you know, things get in the way, and I think by the time it finally gets into beta, it'll actually be a lot better than I previously thought, and there'll be more features, but I'll show some of those today, some of the new features that have worked their way into the alpha version for one reason or another. So that's what we're going to get through today. After that, after the show today, so for the next 57 minutes or so, we'll be hanging out here, and then I'm not going to do a show and a post show today. I'm just going to let this show run as long as it runs while there's still questions and stuff to chat about, until about 1 hour's time, and then instead of doing a members only post show like I usually do, we actually have our members only Zoom hangout today, which is in about 1 hour's time. So if you're a member on YouTube or you're a member on Patreon, you can join me there. You should have gotten the link already in all the usual places, but if not, Discord is the easiest way to get in touch with me, and I'll send it to you right after the show, or as soon as I possibly can. But check out the members only section in Discord if you're a member, and if you don't have access to that, then just send me a Discord message and I'll get you access to that. It's pretty chilled. We just hang around, talk about whatever pops up. Usually it's in the realm of ATEM and video production and all that stuff. Try to keep it specific to that kind of area, but otherwise it's a little bit more relaxed than me talking to you for the next 60 minutes or so. And then the first thing I think I'll just get to, because it's only a couple of small updates, I just want to take you through some of the new features that I've included in H2R Layouts. So I've been working a little bit. I'm going to show you those in a second, but let me just get rid of the graphic there, and then I can show you that now. So let's go through these, and then we can circle back for any questions that might appear along the way. And before I go any further, actually no, I'll come back to that in a second. Let's just, oh, here it is. Okay, 1 second. Back to me for a second and just say hello to Jim. Thanks for becoming a member on the channel here. I appreciate it a lot. I suspect you won't, on your YouTube community tab, you should have access already to the Zoom call, so you can grab that afterwards. But thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. All right, let me go back over and look at H2R Layouts. So these are the new features that I just included in there. At first glance, it may look fairly the same, sort of the exact same, in fact. But what you will see is now there's this new guide section here. So I think this will show up on the stream. And if it doesn't, you can always just head over to the website and check it out for yourself. But now you can see that there's these new guides here. So we have a center guide. We have a, it's quite small on my screen here, 4x4 guide. We also have the 8x8 guide, and then a 16x16 guide. So it makes it just a little bit easier to actually be a little bit more precise on where you place things. So if I make these boxes about 0.25, I like to do that for all of them, and then paste it in there, and then I can actually use these guides now as a sort of, let's just say, a helping way. Now, what you'll find if you do use it is it actually doesn't really snap to the guides. It's a bit more complex than that to make that work, and I haven't quite explored that yet. But what you can at least do now is see, based on the guides, if you're roughly in the right place. That's where it starts. So let me just turn off the guides for a second, just so I can show the second thing here, which is the precision mode. Now, it took me a while to figure out the best name for this, but I'm sticking with precision mode for now, and then we'll see how it goes. And DVE Store here saying we're excited for the new H2R layouts. That's good to hear. This one's already released, actually, so if you head over to layouts.heretorecord.com, you'll already get access to these new features. But in this precision mode here, this is the default medium precision, and this is the one that you would have used before. You might not notice it right now, but if I turn on low precision and I start moving my mouse around, you can see here that the boxes actually jump quite a lot between each. So I'm moving the mouse and they're jumping quite a distance as it goes. But if I turn on the high precision mode, then you can see that they're jumping a lot. The box is moving basically pixel by pixel around this area here. So pair that with the 16x16 grid, and you can find yourself getting a much better alignment of all the boxes, pretty much where you want them. And then what I like to do is just turn off the grid and see how that looks. I mean, I don't know what I would use this layout for, but that's what that layout looks like. And from there, I just want to scroll down the page and show you that the usual ATEM macro works as expected, but this is the other new feature that I've just added to this with the help of Doug from DJP, Doug Johnson Productions, and you can see here now that you can add a DJP ATEM supersource macro for just macros. If you don't know what that is, you can always click on this what's this button, and that'll take you off to an explanation that Doug has on his channel all about that stuff. That'll make sense to you if you know what that is. If you don't know what that is, then I encourage you to go check out what Doug's doing with supersource and animated supersources as well. And if you use vMix, then all the guide stuff works just as you would expect it to, which is nice. And the lower precision or the high precision mode all works as you would expect it. So those are sort of the latest updates on the H2R layouts. I'll come back to me. And there wasn't too much other stuff to say there on layouts than that. But if you want to use the stuff, you can go use it now. It's already available. And I just saw Ken Jordan. Thank you so much for becoming a super fan of the channel. You're more than welcome to come to the Zoom meetup after this live stream later on. I appreciate your support a lot. And Aaron saying here, no fair teasing us with features we can't use yet. You're absolutely right. H2R graphics features, not yet, getting there slowly. Speaking of things you can't use, here's an I'm here to record official water bottle. This is the first time I've shown this. I'll be interested if anyone is, up for one of these. Definitely let me know. It's something I wanted to try out and get in, see how it looked. I'm okay with the writing. It looks all right. The bottle quality is okay too, so I don't know if it's the right one yet, but it's a one of a kind. So and thanks to anyone else who's given the merch stuff a go. I've got a few t-shirts and a few mugs and stuff in there, and it's been really nice to see people either get them because they want them or get them because they want to support the channel or whatever their reason is. It's really nice. So let me see if I can I created a shortening link for this very purpose so that I can easily throw things in there. Now if there's any sort of merch along the way that you think would be nice to have, then you can feel free to let me know. But otherwise, here's a link to the ones that are currently available. Just put that in the chat. Yeah, so let me work my way along the chat, just keeping a close eye on it. And Jeremy wants to know a very important question here: will there be an option to get H2R graphics on a floppy disk? I'll think about that. Let me work on the other versions too. And can we get a H2R beanie? At some point we can get all of the options. I just want to make them slowly and make them right. Oh, and thanks so much. Go Web Technologies became a member of the channel as well. Appreciate it a lot. Nice to see members roll in. This is excellent. Great to have you all here. Definitely. And yeah, you're absolutely right here. Pides Media says here to record caps will be very popular with cinematographers. I'm here to record. I quite like that as a phrase that works nicely. Hashtag beanies I see from Joel. I didn't expect this to turn into a merch discussion, but it did very fast. I'll be drinking from that bottle constantly. So, what else was on my list of things? Let's talk about H2R Graphics next. Because I have all these products sitting here, but I'm sure they can wait a bit longer till I go over there and look at them. And maybe you've looked at them before and you know what the features are. So I'm in no rush. Anyway, H2R Graphics. Let's see. So I showed off a few weeks ago on the stream what it's basically going to look like, how it's going to operate, and it hasn't changed too much in terms of those things since then. You still have this main application here, which is sort of the launcher application, and it lets you jump in and open projects and connect data sources and things like that. For example, I have my YouTube chat, the YouTube live chat data source connected there, which is pulling in the comments for this stream and let me show them on air right now. Comments like people chatting to each other and stuff like that, which is great. But a couple of the new features that have just sort of sneaked in at the last minute here. If I come back to me and I show, where is it? Here, this one. So this is something, someone actually on the alpha team who are helping me test it reached out and said, I really need some scoreboard for a game. Yeah, a game coming up soon. And it's something I was going to get to eventually, scores, but I hadn't quite worked on it yet. But now you're seeing it. This is what the sort of my styled version of the score would look like. In fact, if I show you the interface, which is that one, you can see here in the score. Now this is pretty early days on the score, but it'll come out and it's shaping up nicely as we test things out. But you can add a couple of teams, and I had this thing called score levels. So what I'm trying to achieve is sort of not something that will work for every single score or every single sport or game, but something that it can kind of be a little bit more specific than the older version, but generic enough that you could use it for most anything you want. So that's why I built it to have these score levels. And what you're about to see is, if I change it to 1 level, then you can imagine this being perfect for like a soccer game or something, where you only have really 2 things happening, or 2 teams getting 1 point at a time. If you go a bit further into that, this, for example, was used specifically on a volleyball game recently. So you can, I'm just tapping on the iPad here and increasing the scores on the 2 levels of scoring. Or you could go into 4 level. 3 levels is something I was doing some paddle stuff a while ago, so 3 levels actually would work really well for that. At times, depending on the game. I don't know it too well, but I know it okay. And then 4 levels, I'm not entirely sure what that would be for, but you know, people find interesting ways to do all of these things. So we'll see what people come up with. And then there's this new score tab over here. And what you'll see is there's 2 levels of scoring there. In fact, if I go back and change this to 3 levels, just so you can see what it looks like, there's now 3 levels of scores in here. So up on the top, whenever I increase any of these, it increases the corresponding level. Now, like I said, I did build this out specifically for somebody to use last weekend, and we have some improvements already to add in there, but I think it's working surprisingly well already. And I see some comments coming in, which is exactly what I was hoping this would stir up some thoughts as I showed it off. I'm sure people would have thoughts already. Like Go Web Technology says, do we have logo options rather than colors? And that's something I definitely want to add. So instead of those 2 colors up there, you could change those to be some logos. So that's definitely something I want to add in this version. I tried to add that in the older version, but I didn't like how it worked out. But like many things in this new version, everything is easier because I've learned so much from the previous. So, and Jeremy says there, I don't know if it's came in. Yeah, there we go. Hoping to add more than 2 teams. Exactly. That's something I'm really keen on as well. I'm trying to keep this open enough for myself that I can add multiple levels of scoring, but also multiple teams within that. So probably up to 4. I think would make sense for now, 4 in both directions. But I'm happy to hear as I launch it and people use it, if there could be more levels than that. I don't want it to be too many, but who knows. And another great question I saw there, Orbital Plosnik. I always need to ask you how to say that. Is it accessible through Companion? Yes, it is going to be. Let me think of the best way to get this up. Get book. So the way that I wanted to, in fact, this is already sort of public somewhere. I've got the API out there for anyone who's currently testing the applications of mine to see the API. I'm trying to find it now. This is going well. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yes, it will be controllable by Companion, where it does get pretty complex because you have to say what team you want to change, what level you want to change, and then how many, and then what you want to do with that change, like add or subtract, and then there's the amount of points you want to add or subtract. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. But I think what that means is that you can program Companion for your specific setup. So what you might have saw there whenever I was showing off the scores is that right now in this version, each one of these buttons is a 1 point increment. But what's really nice about keeping it open within Companion is that you can decide that whenever I press the plus button on Companion for level 1, actually add 100 points or 5,000 points, whatever you want it to be, or minus points. Oh, I have to have some water here. So that would be the perfect thing about keeping it open in Companion. and that's the general idea of this version. But like I said, when we get it out there, who knows what kind of growth it will see. Thank you so much, Sean, for the super chat. I appreciate it a lot. You didn't leave a message as far as I can see, but otherwise, yeah, thank you so much. Nice of you, very nice of you. Is it possible? Joel wants to know: is it possible to integrate a timer in the scoreboard? It's currently not possible. I kind of have this feeling that I'm kind of against doing that at first anyway, because what's kind of nice about the application right now is that you can come in and set up a timer. So for example, let's just change this to be the current time of day. I have no idea where this is going to show up at. Right in the middle. I'll change this to my default theme, and then I would position that, I suppose, below the. I'm trying to do this on a delay here. It's going well, so I could position that wherever I wanted, and then I could just bring these off and on air at the same time. That's kind of what I'm aiming for with this, is that I'm not being too prescriptive about how well it works, or how it works at all. So that's what I'm hoping for. So what you could do, and with Companion you can run both of these together and get them on at the same time like that. So, but again, who knows? I'm listening whenever the time comes. Definitely. I just don't want to add another like time element somewhere else that works slightly differently. I want kind of to keep time in one place and other things in other places. Yeah, logos to match the teams competing. Own branding would be very useful. I agree. And anywhere you see graphics, it's either a color or a logo to match that team. So it makes sense. Petra, thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat just because H2R Graphics is really cool. Thank you. It's really cool, and it'll be in everyone's hands at some point, I'm sure. So thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Merch idea from Jeremy. Something I know you've done in the past, but being able to buy H2R stickers. Yeah, that would be great. Stickers are available for patrons at a certain level. So if you want to get some stickers now, I do send out stickers to patrons at a certain level. I'm a little bit behind on sending them out, but they are coming out pretty soon. It has got more complicated to send stickers from Sweden abroad for no good reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's more complicated all of a sudden just to send some stickers. But yeah, I'd definitely like to. I have a stack of them here, and I have more that I want to order, so I'd love to do that definitely. And buying them would be cool too. Whoa, low latency on the stream. Interesting. Is it pretty low? Oh, you can tell by the time of day, I guess. Yeah, it felt like it was pretty high to me because I'm bouncing it through Restream actually, and then to YouTube for internet reasons. Not for any good reasons, but for home internet reasons. Let me get rid of all these graphics just for a second. So I think I covered that nicely, but if there are more questions that come in about graphics, in fact, I'll just list a few here just so I can come back to them a little bit later. And thank you so much, Coffee Talk and Tech. Bought your overlay pack for vMix. Love them. Thanks. Thank you for purchasing the pack. It does actually support the project, the channel, what I do, all of the only way, well, almost the only way I make any income now is through YouTube and the projects that have spun out from YouTube. In fact, even the consultancy or freelance jobs that I do link back to YouTube in some way. So anything that you can support the channel, whether it be super chats, membership, Patreon, buying the packs, the merch, or just hire me to do something for you, all that stuff kind of lives around YouTube these days, which is fun. And also, no, it's not terrifying at all. Just tagging a few questions for myself here so I make sure that I get back to it. 6 seconds for me, says Mikael. Interesting. 6 seconds is not too bad at all. So, one of the reasons that I reorganized everything typically whenever I do live streams, actually, I've been using the ATEM for basically all of it. All the cameras go into the ATEM. And then now that I do H2R Graphics version 2 with the transparent background, and what that looks like is, if I show one of these chat messages here, and I just show you that one page, it looks like this. In fact, what's nice about vMix is that, and OBS as well if you use it, this is actually just a browser overlay, and the background is already keyed out, so I don't actually have to do any work at all. vMix is doing all the work for me basically, because there's nothing to key out in this case. And I can make some videos about how well that works in the future, definitely. But what I was doing in the past was sending key fill out of vMix over to SDIs, converting those to HDMI, and then going into the ATEM, and then using the ATEM to do all my streaming. But what I realized was I kind of wanted just to try to go for a full vMix setup. Well, almost a full vMix setup. So what you're seeing right now is my camera, which is going into the ATEM still, and as well as my PC screens, they're all going into the ATEM too. So I'm able to cut between my PC screens like I usually do for my live streams. Yes, the screen went back for a while. That was intentional. No worries at all. But yeah, so I'm still using my ATEM for the camera, this camera, and for my PC stuff, because I run everything on my PC through the ATEM. In fact, the ATEM is basically just like the ATEM Mini Extreme is basically an expensive, I don't know, video matrix right now. That's my main use case for it. But what I realized was I could just use NDI for everything. Not that I trust that for all of my future jobs and gigs, but I do trust that for quick little demos like this. So I have my iPhone here. This is one of the 13 Pros I just got my hands on the other day, and it's running an NDI camera, and because it's running on the same network as the PC that I'm using all of this through. Oh, thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate it a lot for the super chat. Nice of you to support the channel. That's really nice of you. Thank you so much. Enjoying my rambling here, Jimbo Tech, hopefully. But what's cool about this is because this just directly connects to vMix, I can just bring it up in there. And in fact, you can see a blue line around the screen. You can just about see a very thin blue line around the screen there. Yeah, I was just casually showing off the new iPhone. Any excuse to show it off. You can see the blue line around the screen, and that tells you the NDI mode is on. But because I'm using vMix and I put this camera in preview, then it takes a bit of time, frustratingly, but it does go green as like a tally around there. I don't have to do any effort here. vMix and the app are talking to each other to do that, which is cool. And when it goes in program, it goes red. I can't show you that because then it would go on program. But I've wanted to use a second camera for a while on the stream, but I haven't wanted to run another cable around the room. And then if I want to add a third camera, maybe I just didn't want to keep adding lots of cables and things like that. So I thought for these live streams, at least at home here, I can launch it a bit faster. If I really want to show something and I use vMix all the time, then I can just launch this app on my phone and I'm good to go. So for example, if I want to show what's in front of me right now, which is a very messy screen, but here you can see right beside me, I have the Stream Deck, I have a little audio interface, and then I have the iPad, which is running H2R Graphics rundown just on the H2R Graphics. So I can press through the comments, and you can see I've listed a few that I'm going to get to later in there. So that's what's going on here. And then on the table over here is where I've put all of these devices. In fact, I've put this little clamp just to the table here, so I could actually clamp the phone very carefully in place. And that is a short background of what I'm up to and why I changed the setup. I think that was a good reason to change everything, but we'll see how it goes. If I stick with this or not, time will tell. But what it is good for is being able to just grab the camera and walk around a little bit and get some shots. I'm not sure I trust the audio yet to switch between one microphone to another, because I'd really like to hear what I'm doing and if it sounds somewhat equal. But for a B shot, the camera works pretty well. Not you know, not amazingly, but it works pretty well. So that leads me to the products that are on the table here. Let's get this one out of the way first. So I actually have, excuse me for getting a bit too close to the mic there. I actually have 3 of these, 2 of them unopened yet because I haven't had time to open these 2 yet. But 3 of these new Blackmagic bidirectional SDI converters. And like I said before, they're not brand new, these things. Oh, it looks very grainy. They're not brand new. They've been out for a while, but they are brand new to me because I've been previously using the non 3G versions, which are, I have one of those, which is basically the exact same. Only this one, if I can remember the differences. This one passes camera control, camera control and all that stuff back and forth, but it probably does other stuff too. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. That one's not so interesting, but I have 3 of those now, which I'll use for various things in some upcoming videos. I have actually been using I've been using this camera as my main camera for a few weeks now. It's been actually working really well. The studio camera. This is the Plus model, not the Pro one. But I've been really happy with it for the most part. I had some issues with it in the last few days or week or so, where all of a sudden the fan has ramped up on it, but I believe it might be a firmware issue because of the way it happened. One day I was using it for hours like I usually do, sitting on Zoom and calls and all that stuff, and I went to turn it off and the fan just kicked in and revved up, and then when I turned it, and then it went off after a few seconds, and then when I turned it back on again, the fan just stayed on high, like loud enough that unfortunately it came on 30 minutes before this live stream, and I had to switch this camera out with the GH5 because it was unusably loud. The camera is like arm's length away from me, so you can understand why I wouldn't want to listen to that in the microphone. But I have a message in with them to see if they can take a look at it, and like I said, the way it happened when I flicked it on and it made a noise, it made me think that it's probably some sort of firmware issue or something funky happened, because if you feel it, it actually is really cold when the fan's on, so it's probably just needs an update. But we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that. I think it's a pretty important fix, especially, it's not that I recommend it 100% for a small studio space like this, but if you are going to, you really need the fan to be quiet or just about audible. So that is why I got the bidirectional converters, because of follow-up videos on the camera and how it works with the ATEM and all that stuff. So that's that. I'll get those out of the way because that's not so exciting. I also got this Studio HD Plus, this HyperDeck Studio HD Plus from Blackmagic. They did send it over as well, along with the camera, so I could take a look at it and make a video about it, all that good stuff. But I've only really gotten started. Actually, I only really took it out of the box the other day, and I only turned it on for the first time today because of too many products, as you can see, to get through right now. It is pretty interesting though. I quite like the form factor of the older ones, which is 1/3. This does take up quite a bit more room if you want a smaller setup. You can only put 2 of these side by side instead of 3 of the older ones. But other than that, the buttons are huge now, so it's really much more usable, I think, than the older one. It was quite hard to see, especially in a darker space. You had to get quite close to it to see which button was the record button and which one wasn't. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty impressive. I really like the double SD card, but also the SSD option in the back, the USB port. It also has the speaker built in, which is really nice for actually knowing if something's working or making audio like you expect it to be. That's a definite, almost a must-have for these kind of things. So it's really good to see, and headphones as well, so you can actually monitor. But what I do like about it is, if you're in playback mode, let me go back and play back that clip. In fact, do I still have that here? Yes, I do. So what I have here, if I cut to this on the stream, no, wait, this, too many buttons. that's playing back that clip that I just recorded. And you can see it's actually connected to the monitor output as opposed to the SDI output. And it's got on-screen information, which is really good to see. What I was worried about whenever they talked about this in a stream is I was thinking that the on-screen information looked a bit small and it was going to be quite hard to see what it's a jump cut there to me in the future. It was going to be quite hard to see what was happening on that feed there. Is it still up? Yeah, it is. But it's actually quite good. Even on a smaller screen that I have in front of me here, it actually looks quite good and quite usable. So I'm happy to see that. I really like the monitor output from the multi-view device from Blackmagic. Do I have that? Or sorry, not the multi-view device. This one, the web presenter. I don't have anything connected to it right now, but whenever you look up on a monitor and see that display, then you know that it's a monitor output. I did feel like whenever you look at this one, on a smaller screen a bit further away, you might just miss that it's a monitor output and you might cut to it accidentally, depending on your workflow, which you wouldn't want to happen. But otherwise, it's actually it looks really good now that I've gotten it and shown it on a screen here in front of me. It actually looks pretty good, so I'm fairly happy with that. Nice to have that option, especially in a more professional environment. You have all the screens with you and you're able to throw that up on a screen next to the monitor from the web presenter. It all would look really good. I'll dig into that HyperDeck in the future for sure. And if you have any questions about it now, just throw them in the chat and then at least I can see them coming in and then be sure to mention it at some point in the video. I quite like that. I used to think that when I got a new product in, I wanted to take a look at it, put it through its paces, not really talk about it on a live stream until after I'd launched a video about it, because I didn't think that, I don't know, I guess I didn't think people would want to talk about it lots on a live stream and then eventually watch a video about it. But I found that this to be the better solution, is that I can show that I have it in my hands here, try to get some questions about it, things that I haven't thought about. There's loads of stuff like that I never really think about at all. Hope that video comes out soon. Not sure which video, but whatever it is, I'm sure it'll come out at some point. And Jonas says, have you tried the LUT feature in those converters? I have not. I have not tried that. Let me see. Are these the ones that have the LUT? I know that I was trying to look this up yesterday because it doesn't say anywhere on the box about a LUT on these bidirectional converters. You could well be right. I'll take your comments on board. Okay, all 3G versions have them. Yeah, it seems like though that it's only, as far as I can see online, it's only the SDI to HDMI that they really talk about it having that LUT. Otherwise, they don't really mention it much at all. Yeah, actually Doug's now come in with the correction. That's what I found too. SDI to HDMI version does do LUTs, but the bidirectional ones and the other ones, the HDMI to SDI, don't do LUTs. Or they certainly don't talk about doing LUTs anywhere on the packaging or on the website. We were having a discussion about this yesterday, and I couldn't find any information on that anywhere. But if that changes with an update, or it seems weird that wouldn't be the case. But I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that change at some point. I'm not sure why that's the case. So that's that. Converters. Now, the sad quick story on the HyperDeck right now is that I can't actually, I can't do much with it right now because I'm having some issues with it. They've sent it over for me to take a look at, but there seems to be a problem with this particular unit. It is a review unit, so I'm not too surprised. Maybe it's gotten a little bit of a bump because of a previous reviewer or something like that. So I'll come back to that. They were nice enough to let me borrow one for a while and let me try out their linking software, cloud-based software. So I'll definitely come back to that in the future. Just thought I would have it here, see if people are interested in that particular device, and if there's any questions that pop up on that as well. Let me just cover any questions that have come in, because It's going fast. And like I said, this is usually when I would go into like a post show, a members only post show, but we are going to have our members only Zoom hangout in about 20 minutes or so. So instead, I thought it made more sense to let just go a bit longer, since I had so many things to talk about, and then me and the members can hang out on that instead, and just chit chat with each other instead of me chatting to you directly. Let me just go back on some questions that popped up before. Do you have a possible release time for the new version of H2R Graphics version 2? I do not. I'm going to stop saying any release times, because I haven't stuck to any of them yet. So, not yet. Soon is the ongoing answer. But thanks for asking. A member here on the channel, Go Web Technologies, wants to know, different sports have different score formats. Hopefully H2R Pro will have the option to select a particular sport and display. The option pops up accordingly. Yes, you're right. I have some ideas on different ways to, because it's not all about just scores on sports. Sometimes it's about certain markers. Say, for example, who serves, which team is serving in a tennis game. So I have some stuff that I haven't implemented just yet on that. But it definitely is a complex thing. Whenever I was doing some paddle tournament a few weeks ago, or maybe it's more than that now, but a few weeks ago anyway, even when we came there, they decided to do a scoring system that was slightly different than the one that I thought we were going to do when we went there. So there's so many complexities involved per sport, never mind across all the sports. So I don't want to get myself too deep into sports just yet. I have been talking on the Discord about a project for sports in general, and hoping that we can create a bit more of a graphics solution that would be a bit more widely used, but I understand that it'll be a challenge, definitely. Joel wants to know, is a new video expected on the Tiny House Studio? Yeah, I'm definitely overdue some sort of video on the studio. I think there's things that have been slowing me down a lot, but one of them is that I really wanted to get the desks sort of set up the way I wanted it. I have made some changes recently on that, which I can give a little preview studio tour of now. If I can get this camera to go where I want it to go, maybe that would do just fine. So I have been, you can start with this shot of me. The lip sync is really far off in this, you'll see now in a second. Wait, here we go. Hello. So the microphone now is on this this arm. Get the water bottle out of the way. Is on this arm here, and the arm is attached to the table. It's a really mess here. I didn't expect to show this, so you'll just have to bear with me. The arm is attached to the table, and then I have the camera on another arm over here, and then I have, maybe I showed this already a few weeks ago, but anyway, I have the screen on an arm as well. So everything's sort of attached to the table on arms now, instead of the older way, which was a wooden box, which was not the best solution. I liked the idea of it, but it didn't really go the way I thought it would go. But yeah, I think once I do some more on the cupboard over there, I would really like to make some behind the scenes tour. Let's keep going with the questions. I hope, yeah, you want to see some timings for drag racing. I would say that maybe graphics will, or H2R graphics might never be like the definitive scorekeeper, more like the graphical score shower to the audience. So that's where I'm more focused towards the audience's information, as opposed to anything more serious than that. But there's a fine line between those two. A feature request for H2R graphics, NDI outputs. Yeah, that's a good one. I keep not doing that because I know you can push through certain pieces of software to turn things into NDI. So I kind of push people towards those as much as possible. But yeah, it's still a good idea. The previous reviewer decided to test water resistance on the video X, exactly, and it is not waterproof. You're absolutely right. That's what they found out too. Oh, this is a shame. Agnes says, I bought a Video X and it failed quite spectacularly on an event. HyperDeck is willing to fix it, but I can't ever trust it again. Yeah, once you lose Once you lose trust on a device, it is really hard to go back and use it again. You have to give it a lot of patience, that's for sure. Confirming here that it's not waterproof. That's good. And hello from Philadelphia. Good to have you here. Never too late to join in. What's your final thoughts on the new Blackmagic Studio 4K Plus? I think I covered that a little when I had it in my hands earlier, but I think in general, for the right use case, I think they're a pretty good camera. I'm really interested whenever the new focus demands come out, just to see how well they work with lenses. Right now, it sort of seems there's only one real video. There's only one video that shows them in action, as far as I have seen. So I'd really like to actually try that out, and maybe I can come back to that a bit more in the future if I find that out a bit better. So no final answer just yet. What do you have in your ears? Says Lintaga. That's not your name, is it? I'm sure you had a different name on Discord. Doesn't matter. I just have these little in-ear monitors. The MEE audio. I always forget what these things are called. Something along those lines. MEE audio. I actually don't need them in my ears right now. I wanted to hear myself at the start, and I wanted to hear the music at the start, and then I could have taken them out, but I decided just to continue. Do you have a score of UPSs like Aaron does? No, I do not. I don't have any here at all. In fact, well, I guess never during a live stream had any problems, but during the summer there was a few power outages, and right before one of my Zoom meetings, the power in the house went out completely. So I kind of had to just use 4G and use the phone. So there are options to back up. And after that one, I said I was going to get a UPS, but I never did that. I'm still waiting on doing that. So that's a good reminder, actually. This will never be the way you want. Ask Aaron. Exactly. It's always going to change from day to day, basically. Simple new tool, H2R Sports or H2R Score. Yeah, simply a new tool. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking about that today, actually. That it's really its own product, H2R Sports, H2R Score. But I'm not sure if I want to be. I'm still on the fence if I want to be building that without knowing more about sports. It's taken me a lot of effort to learn the sports that I have, the scoring for the sports that I have done already. So you need to know a lot about that kind of stuff, or rely on a lot of people to give you the information for it. But I think, yeah, it is complex enough that it seems like it's its own tool. And Agnes, good to hear. I was able to salvage the event, but it was a very close call. That's good. I'm glad you had the bounce back, definitely. Oh, here's a good little tease for the hangout later. I have a HyperDeck story from this week. Interesting. We'll save that for the members hangout. Yeah, I think in my particular case, it was an unfortunate device issue from a previous person. I assume that was too rough with it. I can't say anything too bad about it yet. That would be unfair at this point. Chris wants to have a feature request here. Would like H2R Gear have a print option, at least a print PDF? Certainly something that I am keen on exploring. I have looked into it before, and it never worked the way I wanted to do perfectly. It just worked okay. But you've just reminded, and I will work more on that in the future, definitely. But you just reminded me of a H2R graphics feature that I added. Again, you don't have access to just yet, but you will when this product comes out, which it will at some point, I'm sure. You just reminded me of a feature that I added this week as per request from another alpha tester. If I show you the H2R graphics screen here, and I'll keep the comment on the screen for now because I need that. In fact, I'm just going to go full screen with this real quickly. So F11 to go full screen. And then if I right click here, I have this new save as PNG option. And what that lets me do is actually just take a grab of the screen. I'll just save this as PNG number 2. Great great naming there, and go out of full screen. And then if I go and find that on my desktop here, you can see that what I just created was this, everything's opening at my other tab or under window. What I created here was this 16:9 image, which is actually an alpha, has an alpha background of just that comment, which was any graphics I had on the screen at the time were part of that save. I think this will be a really good feature to have for sure, because what you can do now is head into your HM media pool. Let me just pull that over to the right screen. Remove some things. No, everything's fine there. So what I can see you doing, I mean, you might not want to do this for your comments, but for lower thirds and stuff, you could just create some simple lower thirds, do a right click and save PNG, and now you have access to that in your media pool. And if I was to take my, I never like to click on anything without knowing what's going to happen when I click on it. Yeah, that's fine. So if I was to show you this again, I could take that comment off the screen for now. What you'll see here in the downstream key, obviously, is that if I create Media Player 2 as the key and fill and turn Media Player 2 on air, I will have to switch back to my camera to make this work. But there you go. Something weird happening with my keying there. But this is not H2R Graphics Live. This is that PNG from the media pool showing up on my HM. So I could create, 10 really simple lower thirds, not want any animations, not want anything like that. Just create the PNGs and then save them, load them, and fire them. Thanks to, I don't really like to say members' names who requested. Oh yeah, okay, never mind. I can see it in the chat here, Ali. Oh no, this feature is my fault. You're absolutely right. This was one that you bugged me about. This is one of those classic tales of someone messaging and saying, no, me messaging someone and saying, look at this interesting feature, and them saying, oh great, here's a great feature idea, and then I just go off and start building that without thinking about the other things that I was supposed to be doing that day. But that's cool. That will be a part of the initial version as well. Cool, making lower thirds and stream and HM. Exactly. All right, we've got about 9 minutes to go, plenty of time. I wanted to really quickly just head over to my little test bench here that I created, move some things around, and I wanted to bring up this YoloBox Pro, the screen that I should have cleaned before we went live. So I'll talk about it while I clean it a little off screen. But that's one of the downsides of a touchscreen device, is that you get lots of fingerprints on it. In fact, if I just turn it on, you'll not notice as many of the fingerprints, I'm sure. That's better. Yeah, that's part of the fun of having a fingerprint device. And if I just take out the HDMI cable from the HyperDeck, plug that into the YoloBox instead, what I wanted to show, there's actually some interesting features in this new one. I'll just leave it there for a second because it's going to try and do some stuff while it sets up. The previous, I think from the YoloBox to the YoloBox Pro, you'll know yourself if you want the upgrade with the extra inputs options. It is faster internally as well, so if you need that extra push, then it would be worth it, definitely. But one of the features that I was really interested in, and I don't believe this is in the other model, but I'm sure they can correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that you can now do chroma key overlays. I'll just create a quick event here. Create that. Test overlay is what I called it. And then I'm just feeding a camera in via the HDMI there. You can see, and all this stuff looks the same. If you watched my previous video on on the YoloBox, a lot of this is quite similar. So you can add your own lower thirds the way you want them. You can add things like score as well, which is cool. So you can total things up. I mean, I know how challenging it is to make these scoreboards. So they've done a good job there to keep that concise. But so what I found was, what I was really excited about for this, and I think if I reach out to them and ask them about it, I'm sure they'll have a solution. But if I load in one of my classic John talking videos, you can play back video as you would expect to in the stream there. But what I wanted to do was, with the new chroma key settings, I was hoping that I could actually input my graphics and then overlay them on top of whatever other inputs I had. So in fact, if I just, you're going to have to stick with me for a second while I do some things. So I'm just going to take the graphics off the current live stream that you're watching. And if I show you this screen here, this is obviously H2R Graphics right here, version 2. Now the background right now is transparent because I've been using it for this live stream. But if I move that back over to my other screen, and then I move this one back over to my other screen. No, actually I can do this like this. I'll just go in and change the background color in here to actually a green color. So I like to use lime, and everything goes green. And then what I'll do is show a comment on the screen. Here's one from Keep Up the Great Work from Duncan here. Thank you, Duncan. So now you can see that on the screen there. You can hear some rustling in the background. You can ignore that. And if I go back over to the YoloBox, which is over here, let me see, where's that at? Like I said, I moved everything around today. So you can see the YoloBox is here. Instead of the camera input, I want to change that to be my chroma, which I believe I might have to go find. There. So now I'm inputting chroma. And if I go back into the YoloBox here and just turn off that green, you'll see, why is it not working? There. It is just that same green screen that I showed off a second ago. But if I turn the keying back on again, I can get rid of that green, and I can do some tweaking to really get rid of it the way I want it to be gone. Click done on that. Now here's where it gets so close in my mind. I can show in a picture-in-picture, I can show this video. That would be my camera shot maybe, or whatever I want to show. And then in the overlay, I can show the keyed out version, but the scaling only goes up to a certain percentage, which was what makes it so close. But in this case, I can jump through any questions that come in or any comments. +1 for the Pearl Nano. Here's one. It's quite small on that screen there, but you can see it come in, which looks really good. I'm quite impressed that it's like an almost H2R Graphics overlay box. So if I inputted the graphics on one HDMI, my camera on the other, I could almost do an overlay, but it's just the scaling that's not quite there. Otherwise, that would be so cool. Hoping that I can reach out to them, give that a go, and do it the way I want it to be done. But I think that would be excellent to have for sure. Now, I have just made a lot of changes to my setup. And I know one thing won't work whenever I turn it back on again, which is the graphics, because it's all green now. So let me just turn that back to not green, transparent. And I can bring me back on air, bring the graphics back on, and we're all back to normal again. Let me just head through a few final thoughts or questions that might have come in there while I was chit-chatting in the last 2 minutes before we head over to the other members-only Zoom call. But yeah, sorry for the disruption on the roadmap. No problem at all. Nice to have someone throwing ideas in there, and it's all good. Go Web Technologies wants to know, will there be write on-screen feature in H2R Graphics version 2? A little bit like the rest of the features that I'm adding slowly over time. So the answer is yes, I want to add that again, but for now it doesn't exist in there because I want to sort of rethink it. I have some very different and better, in my opinion, ideas on how I want to do that this time. So I will definitely try to include it again, but I'm not quite ready for that yet. A good point from Chris here, YoloBox Pro 8 and Mini, the best combination is to get 7 inputs and no need to set the input aside for certain overlays. That's very true. That is a nice combination together. What I was hoping was I could combine it even further down and do one camera and one overlay for graphics, but I think I need the 8M Mini for now. But it is an excellent device for that, for sure. Alrighty. We nicely got to 1 hour of me chit-chatting about all sorts of devices that I've got in my hands here in the studio, and things that I'm either testing or thinking about testing over time. Time has run out, as it always does, and it's been nice to be here chit-chatting and showing you what I've been up to. I think I have more things to mention that I haven't even got time to chat about today, but I always like to thank the members of the channel, anyone who supports the channel in any way. I appreciate it a lot. But a special thanks to Jairus, Tech Condo, Petra over Tech Condo, Patrick Lenz, and Jim at Cloud Bedrock. Those are the 4 supreme supporters of the channel, which are really appreciated as well. So thank you so much for that extra supreme support. That's it for this week. I am sure in the future I will have lots more live streams and all that stuff. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.